Welcome back to Auto Evolution, where we dive deep into the rise, fall, and rebirth of iconic nameplates. Today, the Dodge Hornet, a name with a surprising heritage, a controversial return, and a rocky road ahead. Let's dive in. First, a little history. When people think about the Hornet name, the original 1950s Hornets may come to mind, but the Hornet wasn't a Dodge at all. It was actually a Hudson Hornet, first introduced in 1951 and built in Detroit along with the other big three automakers. You may even recognize the Hornet as it was one of the main vehicles in Disney's Cars movie. It sold about 130,000 units before merging with AMC when sales started to slip, though it did still remain relevant and talked about, and that's likely in part to its presence and success in NASCAR. They did pull the plug on the Hornet in 1957 when a little over 150,000 units completed its 7-model year run. After AMC was in full swing with what they had acquired from Hudson, they decided to bring back the Hornet name in 1970, available in many configurations: the 2-door coupe, the 3-door hatchback, the 4-door sedan, and wagon. With about 860,000 units sold, AMC ended the Hornet nameplate again. Dodge eventually bought AMC in 1987, and with that came all the naming rights that they'd eventually resurrect 30 years down the road. Fast forward to the modern era, bringing back legacy nameplates is a huge trend in the automotive industry, much like Hollywood reboots. Brands love mining their history and hopefully the success that came with it. Before moving into the 2020s, we have to hit pause in 2006 at the Geneva Auto Show when they toyed around with a new Hornet concept. It was a quirky design that looked more like a Scion or a smart car than it did a Dodge. They wanted to test the waters and try something different. It was actually planned to materialize and go into production, but like many things in the auto industry, it came to a halt when the 2009 global financial crisis hit and stopped plans for the 2010 production release. Fast forward to 2022, Dodge resurrected the Hornet name again as a 2023 Dodge Hornet GT and RT PHEV, hoping that it would pave the way in the compact utility vehicle segment and taking the place of the now retired Jeep Renegade. It was met with some questioning and resistance because it was the first Dodge for the American market to be built entirely overseas, and it was really just a spin-off of an Alfa Romeo, making it also the first Dodge to have 0% American parts and labor. This was hardly a Dodge at all. It was a rebranded Alfa Romeo Tonale. Let's take a look at that a second. With the Hornet being a rebadged Alfa Romeo, both sharing the same platform and underpinnings, you can see the similarities with slight differences in the front and rear bumper, as well as the wheels. The Dodge did go a little bit more creative in the color scheme with unique names, including 8-Ball, Q-Ball, Blue Bayou, Gray Cray, Hot Tamale, Acapulco Gold, and Blue Steel. The trim levels and pricing for the last year of production were the GT and GT Plus ranging from $31,000 to $43,000, and the PHEV RT and RT Plus ranging from $41,000 up to $53,000. While the PHEVs were more expensive, they did sell better due to tax credits helping with short-term leases. When equipped with all the premium packages, including premium wheels, sunroof, sound systems, and better driving capability, they actually drove and looked great. But spending Durango RT money to get there was a problem. Think about it. The market had been trained for decades to think that a small Dodge was more of an economy vehicle, not a premium, unless looking at their sports cars, which this was not. Looking at the window sticker closer, the Hornet has 0% American parts content and isn't assembled in the US at all. It's built at the GM Battista Vico assembly plant near Naples, Italy. The window sticker read 0% US and Canadian parts content with 56% Italian parts content and 12% Poland. Once the car was built and ready to get shipped, unlike the Dodge assembly plants in the US, it couldn't just get loaded on the back of a semi-truck to get delivered to dealers. It had to embark a long voyage overseas to arrive at a Baltimore port to get distributed to the dealers from there. This may be common for foreign automakers, but this distribution was uncommon for Dodge and created some impatience and frustrations. Dodge initially planned a strong marketing push with campaigns saying a swarm is coming, but the launch was delayed, and once they did start hitting the dealer lots, the advertising felt, underwhelming to many. It actually became a little bit of a joke because the swarm was very small or never really came at all. Due to some of the chip shortages of the early 2020s, many of the Dodge dealers that ordered the new 23 Hornet never actually received their 2023 units. Much of them didn't get built for that first year and eventually just turned into 2024 models instead. Dealers wanted to stock the new vehicle that was supposed to fill the gap they had in the market, but it wasn't showing up. So, reactively, many dealers were encouraged to order heavy for the 2024 model year, assured that if they ordered them in a number of different configurations, they'd at least receive some of those orders. So, they ordered more than typical with the anticipation that only a few of the orders would actually get built. To much surprise, most of the orders all got picked up as buildable units, and the dealers would finally see that swarm that they had wanted on the all-new vehicle, but one model year late, come to fruition. At the time, that sounded great, though. The swarm was coming, and all Dodge dealers needed were programs to support it and help sell. Unfortunately for dealers, the programs and specials did not come flooding in, and neither did the customers. In its 2023 debut year, Dodge sold 9,300 units for the U.S. market. By 2024, sales did jump to 20,500. Though better than the year before, Chrysler's last big product launch was the Jeep Renegade in 2015, and sales hit 60,000 units in that first year alone, and that was from the same CUV segment and also built in Italy. Here's another comparison. The Jeep Compass sold about 200,000 units in 2023 and 2024 combined. Ouch. So far, the Hornet was off to a rough start and proving to be more of a niche car. Unfortunately, things didn't get better for the dealers from there. Not only were they accumulating the Hornets that were not selling, but something was happening in the background unknown to many of them. The Hornets kept performing system checks in many different modules. No big deal though, right? It was just happening more than usual while these vehicles were not getting driven. Every check was drawing power from the battery. Before long, the battery started to get drained and the Hornets would die. And that would happen in a much shorter time than usual, too. This brought on whole new frustrations to dealers. Now these cars were not only not selling, but they were also dying on display in the front row. Once Dodge had enough pushback from the dealers, they finally started to incentivize the vehicles, and many of the dealers reacted in a way that was giving away the Hornet so they could get these vehicles on the road. And it worked. 2024 had over double the sales by 2023 combined. When 2025 ordering cycle came around, the dealers were expected to get more inventory coming. Problem was, Dodge was met with pushback, understandably, because the dealers were still trying to sell their remaining 2024 models. So the ordering numbers were down and the assembly plant had less to build. Then things went more south. U.S. import tariffs hit the Hornet hard, as none of it was made in the U.S. It was around a 25% tariff on European-built vehicles. This last straw had Dodge deciding to announce to the dealers that it would hit the pause button on production for the 2026 model while the tariffs leveled out. Thing was, they never hit the resume button again, and it seemed as if the all-new Dodge Hornet was canceled indefinitely. It's really too bad that the vehicle had such an underwhelming debut because they really were good-looking vehicles. I've had the opportunity to drive a variety of different Hornets for a good period of time, and I actually quite enjoyed it. They had a quick kind of Euro sporty feel to it, and they actually had a lot of premium upgrades. It did have some pretty unique looks and still shared some similarities to other Dodge brand products like the iconic racetrack-style taillights. Maybe if Chrysler had utilized a U.S. assembly plant, things would have been different. Or maybe if instead of basing it off the Alfa Romeo and they had based it off the Compass, that would have changed things. I don't know. I'm just tossing thoughts around. I do think one of the biggest factors that hit it was pricing. If it had started out in the mid $20,000 range and maybe ended at the $40,000 price range instead of the $50,000 price range, things may have ended differently. I do realize in saying that they would have had to make the vehicle less expensive and sacrifice some of the premium upgrades that they would have put on the vehicle, but I argue that some of those options and premiums maybe weren't necessary for that vehicle. I'm just throwing out theories at this point that don't even matter. Alright, trying to wrap up on a plus with everything that's downplayed on the Hornet as a newly launched vehicle, it wound up depreciating the vehicle enough to actually make it a pretty good buy in the used market. You can now get a fairly new vehicle that stands out a little and priced under $20,000, much closer to what it could have been when it was new. I really do think the Hornet is a somewhat of a cool compact SUV and could really be a good value to many. It just had a little bit of a rough launch and debut. Thanks everybody for watching this episode, Evolution of the Dodge Hornet. Stay tuned for the next video.